JB here, June 13th, Friday the 13th, 8:58 a.m. Talk really quick about the markets. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P futures in the red overnight. Well, about 10 o'clock last night, there was reports out that Israel was striking Iran, and then futures tumbled, oil spiked, and it's like, here we go again. Uh, so the market just overcoming tailwind, excuse me, headwinds. Like always, they say climbing the wall of worry, and here's another worry. I mean, these geopolitical tensions have been there. You already had the back and forth between Israel and Iran a little while back, and Iran sent the drones. Israel sent some people in. They had those walkie-talkies that exploded and killed people. They killed one of the commanders Syria. There's all these. Uh, it's like it's not out of left field. And then on June 11th, the U.S. Removed non-emergency personnel from the Middle East. Right, they had made the announcement on June 11th, so you kind of like knew something was happening. And I remember when that order came out, markets kind of fell a little bit. And in the chat room, I'm like, Iran, is that's what's happening? It's like the U.S. had to know this was coming. And then you just saw Trump talking about his Iran a lot the last 2 days or so, and there was supposed to be a meeting this weekend. We'll see how that if that happens or plans out. But then finally, Israel attacked their nuclear facility. So it's funny, like if you're Iran, you're like, they know this is coming. I mean, you just have to follow FinTwit and say, wow, there's probably gonna be something coming. And then they could do nothing to stop it. So for them to kind of, I suppose they sent drones to Israel. Most of them got shot down. And then they come out with strong talk this morning. So I mean, it's like if you're saying that strong talk, then how could you not have stopped this attack, right? So that's why I take things with a grain of salt. So I hate to see people lose lives and conflicts bad, all that. So I hate that stuff, right? So hopefully this gets resolved. There's no escalation, right? So the thing with the markets is uncertainty. We didn't know what was going to happen. A lot of these events have happened over the weekend recently. Gosh, who remembers when the commander in Russia revolted and he was taking his troops up to Moscow? Who remembers that? That would happen over the weekend. All of a sudden, FinTwit went from these folks who talk about option volume and fundamentals. All of a sudden, they became boots on the ground in Russia. Oh my gosh, here are all these videos of them coming to Russia. Here's, there's going to be a revolt. And then that kind of got nicked, right? So there's always been things over the weekend that have happened, escalation and tensions. Uh, so it just this happened on a Friday. I saw last night, and I'm learning. I'm like, oh, usually this happens over the weekend, but we'll see what happens here. Futures are off the lows, and the SPY's holding 597. I'm an optimist, right? So I mean, what does this change? This is not like the 1970 Arab oil embargo, right? But I mean, the U.S. is a larger producer of oil, so by leaps and bounds, not even close. So to think that a rise in oil prices might happen. Yeah, it did. I mean, oil's up 8%, whatever, but it's like this is a much different time period. So, uh, and then not only that, some of these other countries might up output. What's Iran's? What are they going to do? And so the concern would be the uncertainty is, do they pull other people in? Does this escalate? I still don't think that's the case. I am no military expert, geopolitical expert, not at all. It's just you look at a market, I think it's not. There'll be a heck of a lot more downside if there was fear of escalation pulling other folks in. I think this is more just kind of a shock event, not a shock, not a black swan event, but we get this out of the system and then markets can resume. I mean, hopefully to the upside here. So I'll be watching. If we hold 597 on the SPY today, I'll be watching for bounce opportunities. If not, this could be the opportunity for bears at least to take control a little bit into the weekend. So I'll be open to adding SQQ calls. And then Visa and MasterCard, which there was news out this morning. Well, not news, a report out from Wall Street Journal. I'll talk about that in a second. So that's kind of overall markets. Yesterday, we opened into red and bounced into the green. No news or catalyst. The dollar rose. Yields fell. And this is all on the heels of people talking about the death of the U.S. dollar. I mean, they've been talking about for a year. If you've been FinTwit and all the financial media and all that for the last 10, 15 years, they've been talking about the death of the U.S. dollar. So maybe one time it happens. All right, so that's kind of overall markets. That's kind of what I'm looking at here today. Hopefully, just we find support. And even if we chop around here today, the S&P was up, I think, like almost nearly 1% on the week. So it'll give back the gains. But all things considered, where we've been, it kind of like takes out some oversold, possibly overbought conditions, and then sets things up for possibly new all-time highs in the coming weeks. Just my, who knows? If this escalates, then you take that kind of out of the equation. But I don't think that's going to be the outcome here. So that's that. So overall, so individual names. So first take Joby's down a little bit in the pre-market, was actually down near $8.30. This is after only over 10. I think it was 10:37. It hit on Wednesday. again, it's a pre-revenue company, so a lot of volatilities because it's hard to you have to bake in is are they going to be able to execute? Are they eventually going to get the permits and all that stuff? Are they going to be able to fly in the U.S.? So, what does this all look like? But that with that risk comes the reward, and if Joby is able to execute, I mean, it's going to be a substantially higher valuation. So I keep looking at October strikes. Probably add some today. We'll see what happens. Of course, in the afternoon yesterday, Josh Brown comes out with his on CNBC with a bullish call. I watched the clip, and it's like he's reading like notes, and he's like, "Oh, Toyota has an 8% investment." No, they have a 15% stake now in the company. But that's him. But he did talk about Archer, and Archer Aviation is another name that so that it's like they're apples and oranges, but in the same kind of situation where the growth of transportation, it's going to change, right? I mean, that's just how it is. With Joby, you're not going to have helicopters the way you've seen them before. There's got to be there's going to be a new age of transportation, cleaner, not as much noise, more efficient, things like that, safer, and that's where you come with Archer as well. So similar stuff here. When you take a look at Archer after the close yesterday, announced an $850 million offering. So I mean, any good company, you're a publicly traded company because you have the possibility access to capital, right? So they're taking advantage of the recent rise in the stock price. They cited the the executive order last week from Trump's as some of the reason. I mean, it's $6 billion valuation, 800 and something $1 million raise. So pretty impressive stuff. I'm not sure if I'll add some today, but that's another name. I might just add some later dated strikes on because if you look at Archer, I think it trades over $15 in the coming weeks. And the telltale sign here today is if the sell the news today gets bought, right? So if Archer goes red to green, definitely you have to think it's going to hit new all-time highs. All right, so that's Archer. Restoration Hardware. So earnings yesterday after the close, they missed on revenues, beat on EPS, and then they pretty much reaffirmed their guidance, talked about double-digit growth into the end of the year, and just all bullish stuff. So at first the stock shook off. It was a little bit lower right after the release, and then it bounced, and it's it's solidly in the green here. It's up at 210, but the premiums are probably going to erode just because of the implied move. I think it trades north of 220 today. So I'll be watching at the open. If I can find a decent risk reward strike, I'll add some calls. Also, not couple with that, but Wayfair got upgraded this morning. I think a 60 something dollar price target. It was actually at $48 in the after hours yesterday on the restoration on the RH news. So wouldn't be surprised to see this bounce today too if markets find footing. So don't be surprised if I'm back in W again. I mean, it's down here at 47.10. So that's that. All right, so now Visa, MasterCard. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal this morning around some of these retailers. Amazon, let's see if do I have it up here? I don't even know if I have it up here. Announcing that they're looking into stable coins, right? Which again, I always last five years, I don't even know how far back. I was talking about the possibility that they would, that transactions could be disrupted, right? And this is before Bitcoin really went mainstream. You have to think like how these processors are still able to get the middleman at such a high cut it's like mind-boggling to me, right? So Visa, MasterCard, they don't have the risk of someone defaulting, right? Because they're not taking on the debt. All they're doing is processing the transaction through these networks. So it's just they're such behemoths that's going to take a long time for them to get disrupted, if at all, because maybe their acquisitions will finally alleviate the concerns of being disrupted. So just watching Visa all the way up at the upper Bollinger Band. It's trading MasterCard, Visa, American Express, all trading lower this morning on that report. If the market doesn't find footing, 597 breaks on a SPY, I might look for some Visa, MasterCard puts into the weekend to hold for next week. Not for financial Armageddon, but you take a look how far it is above its 50-day moving average. Last time it was back in March, it found weakness, and this is before Liberation Day, so maybe it has some deja vu. Just other names. Serve got lucky with that bounce yesterday in the morning, all the way up to the upper Bollinger Band's 1366, hit 1359. Locked some of my calls in for near 100% to cover costs, and then sure enough, it melts for the rest of the day. If you look at the chart still looks nice here. So maybe an opportunity to add some later dated strikes as well. So don't be surprised if I had some strikes for move over 15. That's Serve. Oh, and then the lottos yesterday. So MDB, I mean, look at this chart. You look, like had great earnings, nice gap, and then consolidation. And I'm like, once this starts to turn, it's gonna be like a turn and burn situation. So I went and got some lotto calls, huge volume, right? So it traded 2.2 million shares yesterday. The first 15 or 20 minutes of the day, it traded over 1 million shares. So to see that. I'm like, here, it's going to have continuation. And sure enough, whoever doesn't like the name uses it as an opportunity to sell. Still like this as a setup. So don't be surprised if I add some strikes in the next week if the market holds footing here today. Same with Reddit. Unfortunately, Reddit just chopped around in the afternoon after looking like it was going to break out. I mean, it did the same thing on Wednesday. It was showing relative strength compared to the market. Here it is down here 112. So I don't know if I'll add anything today. If I do, it might be into next week. Still like VKTX. Altimmune was rallying yesterday. Turns another name I keep watching, but I'll probably just be patient here into the weekend. And I think that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.